Okay, resources. What do they count? Basically, they count, for a married couple, they count all the assets in the husband's name, all the assets in the wife's name, all assets in joint names, or if you have assets in your name with another person, like an adult child, that also counts. If that is your money, and you just, like a lot of people put the name of the child on as a convenience so they can access the assets. If it's your money, it counts. And they, in New Jersey, as opposed to different other states, they count the pension, IRA, retirement assets, even the retirement assets of the healthy spouse count as long as you can get to them. If they're accessible, they count in determining eligibility. Okay, so some assets count and some are excluded. And really, what counts and what's excluded, a lot of it depends on who's making the application and their marital status. So, here, really, the rules say the home, if the is exempt if it's a married couple and the healthy spouse is living in the home. One home, the principal residence is exempt because the agencies figured, well, the community spouse still needs a place to live. It's supposed to be limited to this 1,033,000 equity value. But in practice, I've never seen the agency actually look at what the equity value of the home is. Your principal residence is exempt. One car, one home. This is for married couples. One home, one car, and then these other things, the personal effects in the home, life insurance, the face value under 1,500, medical equipment. If you have inaccessible resources, like anything you can't get your hands on, they don't count. For example, assets in probate, you can't, the executor's really in charge and they distribute, but they may not distribute for a while. That doesn't count against you. Or a prepaid funeral or a cemetery plot, they're also exempt asset. They're not going to count. What are the limits? How much can you own? I'm going to, these are limits for the person, assuming again that it's a married couple, like many clients coming in. If the one person wants to be eligible, one spouse, that spouse can own $2,000. If a couple was trying to be eligible in New Jersey, that couple can only have $3,000 in the bank or less. If they have more, they're ineligible. The excess resources, they call it the spend down amount. You have to spend it down in order to be eligible. This is something that comes up all the time. People learn about how expensive care is in New Jersey, nursing homes, assisted living facilities, etc., and how little they can really own in applying for Medicaid, which is really the only source that will pay for long-term care costs for most people. So right away they transfer assets or make gifts. So Medicaid has put in this procedure in order to prevent people from gifting away their assets and going on to Medicaid. And it's a look back period to try to see, hey, were any gifts made? When I started out in this type of planning, it was a 12-month look back period. So from the time that you applied for Medicaid, they'd look back a year, and if you made gifts within that year, then there's a resulting penalty that's coming up. But now it's been extended. The look back period is up to 5 years or 60 months. So you go into the office to apply for Medicaid, and they want to know if you made any gifts or transferred any assets in the 60-month period prior to the month that you've applied. And if you have, then they impose a penalty. They don't go suing anybody. They don't try to recover the assets. They just take the amount of the assets that you gifted away. And they have in order to apply, you got to give them your bank accounts and your tax returns and everything else. So they can see if you've actually made gifts, or besides just asking if you've made gifts on the application. And if you have, they take the total amount of the gift, everything you've gifted away in the 60 months prior, and they divide it by the average monthly cost of nursing home care in New Jersey. It's the idea is, the theory is that how long, could you have paid for nursing home care had you not made the gift? And that's the length of the penalty period to try to prevent you from doing that. So how do they come up with that figure? Every few years, they survey all the nursing homes in New Jersey to see what they're charging. And, they come up with what they call the average monthly cost of nursing home care. Just recently, they came up with this number. It's changed many times over the years. Now it's $374.39 a day, or about $11,400 a month this year. So if you make a gift, they take all that you gifted away in those 5 years, even if you give, $10,000 one year, $50,000 3 years ago, and then 4 years ago, another $50,000, they add it all together and divide by $11,387.70. And the number that they come up with is the number of months that you're going to be ineligible for Medicaid. The theory is, okay, you need care. You're applying for Medicaid because you're in a facility. You now know you're not going to be eligible for a certain number of months. And people usually give the money away to their loved ones. So the expectation is that once you know that you're not going to be eligible for Medicaid, the loved ones will give the money back or pay the facility with the gifted assets. And that'll be how you are able to pay for that long term for that penalty period. And then once the penalty period is over with, you've used up the amount of the gift because it's been given back to you, and then you're on to Medicaid. And the penalty starts on the day that you applied for Medicaid, the day you would have been eligible but for the gift. In other words, you met all the other requirements. You met all the medical requirements. You don't have your resources are down to where they should be, and your income is within the appropriate criteria. Everything's the way it should be, and you would have been eligible, but you made this gift. That's the day that the penalty starts.